So hello, welcome back to Anthnwam for Kaiserreich as Lithuania. Let's continue on for the last off. So we are about a year, I would say, until the second Weltkrieg actually begins. Also, apparently we haven't noticed we haven't done LAF. Oh yeah, the guerrilla activity. Right. Currently they are at 10%. We have 22 command power, so not quite where we need to be to kind of deal with this a little bit more. I mean, 10% isn't that bad. Also, we gotta turn off Fog 4 because, again, it looks pretty bad. Maybe I should just, like, download a mod that just automatically turns that off. But I'm also too lazy to go find that. So, Russia's annexed the Donkuban Union. Not great, because that actually gives Russia a lot more of a front line with Ukraine, and by extension, the rest of the Reichspakt, which I'd say is pretty bad for us. We can upgrade artillery. We do have 20% federalization. We have 81 political powers. Anything we want to spend this on? Yeah, you know what? I'm assuming getting this up to 100% probably is a good thing, and if we don't do it, we might see some negative consequences. And I have a good authority to say the consequences are usually pretty bad, so we're going to try to avoid that for as long as possible. We do get a 100% bonus on rifles. So you know what? 130 days for the 1939 gun. Seems pretty good to me. I mean, we do have a surplus of rifles. We do have a surplus of infantry equipment, which I would take as meaning that we do have the resources that we need to upgrade our rifles. The Grinoria. With the American Civil War ravaging the continent, many have left for Europe and returned to their ancestral homeland. While Lithuania has not been a beacon of stability in the past months earlier, some refugees have found their way here. As they do not have any connections, and some younger ones do not even speak Lithuanian, they are integrating slowly. This problem will only be solved by government intervention. So we get 2,500 manpower, which I think gets immediately thrown into the army. Stalkukis and Alter, man to man. Both Stalkukis and Alter, with their coherent and their cohort, met in what appeared to be a recently refurbished hall in Vilnius. Alter appeared uneasy by the sudden meeting called between the two newly elected prime minister. This move was quickly replaced with a sense of ease as Stalkukis firstly thanked Alter and the Bundas for his support during the turbulent days of Black Monday, and it added that the level of charity will not be forgotten amongst the Lithuanian people. Stalkukis continued that though his Christian beliefs, which I'm pretty sure it's supposed to say Christian beliefs, political views and way of life may clash with Alter and the Bundas, they have the same end goal, being the betterment of their fellow man. For this, Stalkukis and the government is willing to overlook certain aspects of the Bundas. Of course, Alter knew that there would be a but, with Solkas expressing the need for more radical members of the organization to be reeled in. Upon completion of the sentence, Alter's cohort began conversing among themselves with a mixture of Polish and Yiddish, an argument that broke out between certain members, complete with coarse curses being exchanged. But that was silenced when Alter slammed his fist on the table in Lithuanian, telling two of the cohort to leave. In an awkward silence, these men excused themselves from the meeting and left the room. Alter excused his outburst, while Stalkukis and Alter were hammering out the finer points of this compromise. So I think the Bundas is, I think, the radical socialist, if I remember correctly. I don't think it's a syndicalist. Uruguay's won the World Cup. Congratulations to Uruguay. Even though I'm pretty sure they win every single time. Like, I know it's possible that other countries can end up winning the World Cup, but it's almost impossible, and I don't think I've ever seen it. At least in recent memory. It's not calling anything where I remember anyone else actually winning that war. Also, CNT has done a fantastic job. And they have now won the war, which is, I mean, not great for us, of course. But it does give the Entente a direct front line with the International, which usually I think helps out the Entente at least a little bit. I mean, or they just die immediately. It's one or the other. You can do counterinsurgency raids. I think we're going to wait for sweeping the countryside, because that's usually a little bit better. You're at 10%. I mean, you're more than 10%. Actually, we couldn't even do these if we wanted to. You could do the police act, but doesn't really do anything. 14 days for you. I'm not too sure how long this lasts, or like what number it needs to get to, because even most of the more extensive LAF fighting techniques we don't actually have access to right now. Okay, Muscat and Arabia are now at war. We'll probably see the Ottomans intervene and make Oman a protectorate. Oh, so this front line here with the Ukraine is just not defended by them. Hopefully they can rectify that situation in due time. I mean, we have 10 divisions, which isn't a ton, but they kind of need to be on the Polish border because Poland, they're national populist, Russia's national populist. I do believe they'll probably end up joining a faction together, which means that somebody needs to kill Poland. And that somebody is me. I'm killing Poland. Battle in the streets! Another brazen attack that was undoubtedly motivated by racial hatred in town of Pedres. Oh, this is another LAF decision. Plus 4%, which means we can actually now do another 10% penalty on them. Okay, so we got better tanks. Let's go for the artillery upgrade here. 1940 in 136 days, I think seems okay. Do we want to upgrade our tanks? No, because we're still missing 600. You have 12, you have 11, and we're only producing 3 a week. So upgrading the tank makes no sense. I don't even know why I was researching it, to be honest. Okay, completion of the memorial. After days of tiring construction, Władysław Sierkomilia's memorial is finally complete. Built in Vilnius, this humble statue serves a reminder of how important art is in Lithuania and to share the cultural union between Poles and Lithuanians. As curious outlookers, young and old, begin viewing the statue with fascination, they are drawn to the curious inscription on the bottom. Ludwik Krandowicz Władysław Sierkomia, 1823 to 1862. Little bird asks God to lend a hand to help the poor man bear his bitter lot, to have the strength to carry his cross, and make it to the grave without complaint. The words of the state are indeed a solemn memento mori. Koma died young, struggling with his lack of education, his deep poverty, yet the poet's deep lyrics resonate with the audience more than 70 years later, a testament to his accomplishments. Delete one of them in training. Fine, we'll delete one of these guys. I mean, it's going to double the tanks here, but that's not really going to mean too much. You're now 25 out of 300. And I wonder if we just want to make more infantry. We can have up to 16. Let's go like 4 infantry here. I want these guys on a little bit higher priority than these guys, but you should have... Yeah, basically manpower and the infantry equipment. So I'm hoping you're going to be okay. Okay, military industrial complex. Which was the 3 free military factories. 10% cheaper tanks? Yes, please. We'll go with that one right away. Honestly, put even more on tanks. We'll put 1 more infantry equipment afterwards. Do need some steel. We'll get that from Germany. We do need some rubber and tungsten as well, but I don't think it's going to matter so much. Okay, you'll be done in 119 days. And that's quite a while. Five points there. Could you do some more legitimacy as well? Let's go the year 1918. Done in 90 days. The European Federation has now been formed. I mean, it does guarantee that France is going to have 1 less front line that they kind of have to worry about, which is unfortunate. And it looks like Patagonia has won their war in the south as well. So the Syndicalists are doing pretty well in Europe. Doing all right in the South America as well, but they're doing pretty badly in America, which is kind of like one of the more positive aspects of our current campaign. The memory of the January Uprising. 938 marks the 110th anniversary of the birth of Antanas Macivius, a Lithuanian priest and one of the leaders of the Lithuanian rebels in the January Uprising of 1863. Though traditionally seen as a Polish uprising against Tsarist rule, it gained significant transit in Lithuania as well, where it coincided with peasant unrest over the unsatisfactory abolition of serfdom. It is considered to be a turning point in Lithuanian history. While the uprising of Lithuania still hoped to join Poland in a federation, the Lithuanian national revival, which sparked in the years after, finally disjointed Lithuanian national identity from that of Poland, and turned these nations into comrades into enemies. Or from comrades into enemies. Anatas, Makivicius, and other Lithuanian members of the January Uprising, while still supporters of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, had formed more concise national identity with their brethren in the decades beforehand. At the same time, the uprising fought for social justice, the rights of the peasantry, and other radical ideas, which has made it an inspiration for Lithuanian socialist movements in the years after. In independent Lithuania, the November and January uprising are most commemorated by Polish Lithuanians, as it means to express a centuries-long connection between Polish and Lithuanian nations. Now they seek to find a memorial in Kharkivinia, which alongside Makivinius was also commemorate other leaders in the uprising in Lithuania, such as Zygmantas and Konstantinius. We are able to turn this memorial into a political message. What should future generations remember about the January uprising? Vote Catholic, which gives us 10% more federation. Yeah, no, give me that free federation percentage. Thank you very much. So we're now at a nice 45. You'll be done in 48 days. We do need more political power, but it can sometimes be hard to come by. Okay, Brazil has joined the Reichspakt. Okay, not bad, not bad. And Dominion of India will probably end up unifying the subcontinent fairly soon. And there's still wars going on in Africa. I feel like Africa's mostly is now mostly at peace. They just need to kill the commune of Gabon. The Meersbenz also has officially begun operations. The first automotive plant in Memel is already bringing dividends, as well as employing hundreds. The day before the opening, Prince Wilhelm made a call to his brother from Lithuania Minor, explaining that he is disappointed in the decision, and his bosses are not going to think highly of Lithuania from now on. A week after, the first scathing reports of the media came, complaining about the missed German investment opportunities, which have now been funneled over the German border. Okay, thank you. We lose 5% legitimacy. So what are we at now? Legitimacy 35. I'm not too sure exactly where we need to get this, or how high we need to get it. I'm guessing 70% so we can build our beautiful, beautiful palace. Who knows how long that's actually going to take. One building slot, again, is pretty bad. Chile in the International is okay. I mean, it means that Brazil's going to front line. But, I mean, Brazil usually does pretty well for themselves, I would say. All quiet. 1% more threat. I mean, at 15, this will drop them down to 5. And we're getting 0.3 per day. Peninsula War in the Socialist Philippines. And I mean, the Qing are also doing pretty well for themselves. I'm trying to see if anybody else has any major plans for the area. The Lithuanian Panzer. I think we definitely want cheaper tanks. Yeah, definitely cheaper tanks. Within the German General Staff's plan to turn the Lithuanian armed forces into a professional fighting force, armored tanks have played an interesting and sometimes elusive role. The so-called tank, or Panzer, proved its worth in a reliable machine of war during the Weltkrieg, and the post-war period has seen more and more advanced designs in the field of armored vehicles. Some even say that the tank will be a deciding factor in any future wars, as ridiculous as the proposal as it is. Junior officers in the Lithuanian army, taught in German academies, have returned with a similar outlook towards warfare. These officers, such as Atanas Sedbras, Serges Funstil, and I'm guessing these are actually real people that existed, but I'm not too sure, and Jojas Tumkas, have been calling for a Lithuanian armored unit to be formed. Despite the reluctance of conservative officers, the General Staff eventually agreed, and commissioned officers have been formed to search for possible armored design for Lithuania to adopt. A cadre of officers have identified several tank designs which could be adopted for armed forces, each one coming with a separate foreign arms company. Each design has its advantages and disadvantages, as well as associated cost, though there are fears that moving away from standardized German equipment could be a logistical nightmare. The officer cadre is sure that the problems have been accounted for. So 10% cheaper tanks or 10% better attack. Like... I mean, right now... I mean, how much does the tank cost? 9. So it'd go from 9 to 8, roughly. I mean, a gun is worth 0.5. Artillery is worth 3.6. You know what? Give me that 10% bonus attack. We also get 150 free tanks, which can actually almost fill up this army, which is excellent. We're glad to see that. Mobilization. How bad is this organized army? I mean, at 50%, 15% is pretty bad. %48 mobilization, war support. You can reform the army. I mean, it actually wouldn't take that long, but I think so. We actually have a little bit of time. We have a little bit of time until the Second Weltkrieg begins, which is really when we need to start kind of really throwing our military apparatus into overdrive. For obvious reasons. We don't die. Okay, let's do some emergency raids on you. This will be done in 59 days. This will be done in 69 days. Nice. I do some more. No, you're 75. A little bit too expensive. What else is happening in the world? I mean, Bharati communes lose in pretty handily to the Dominion of India. So you might actually see United India before the Second Weltkrieg, which is definitely a rarity for the AI. You know, we can also send volunteers. If we just send air volunteers, it actually allows us to see what's happening. We don't need to actually send any troops over there. I mean, we do want the American Union State to win, because they're the faction, I think, most likely to join the Reichspakt. And how are you doing in... Yeah, this guy's pretty bad. We need to put a lot of pressure on Chicago. And maybe even the Canadians might intervene. I'm not actually too sure. No, they have crippling strikes, so they actually can't do that right now. Crippling strike's actually like a pretty bad modifier. Okay, we have 2 more days for this. Hopefully it's not going to be a really bad one. Okay, single currency. We don't get a choice because we're a puppet state. 1% modifier is not so bad. And honestly, go for the 1914 infantry equipment. Okay, but the SRI and Legionary Italy are now at war. Shouldn't make too much of a difference, I think. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. Be done in 12 more days. Got economic democracy. Let's now go forward. Let's try to fix the cultural divide. The nice flat 5% stability boost, which I'm always happy to see. What else is happening in the world? I mean, the Gabon commune actually is surviving surprisingly long. Are there any other wars going on? Yes. Civil wars, wars in Peru. And the Argentinian Free Territory. Yeah, which means they actually get kicked out of the Reichspakt, or out of the Internationale. Okay, Kumning has fallen. And the Americans are actually taking over parts of New England. Yeah, that's a pretty swole to bet. To my dearest father, born Wilhelm Karl Florenstein Gero Circunius, the king's late father was crowned the second king of the newly created Kingdom of Lithuania. It drew his legitimacy from the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Wilhelm's regal name, Migdas II, was chosen after the first and only king of Lithuania. Though unlike his Lithuanian predecessor, he did not earn a crown via conquest and court intrigue, but by a vote. Many expect the newly crowned king to be at best another German king who didn't care what was going on to the kingdom, and at worst a monarch similar to the Polish Commonwealth kings of old. But they got under surprise was a king who was firm in his belief that a monarch is there to serve his people, and one that learned the language and traditions of his land. Though he was still a puppet king, he assured that Berlin's interference in Lithuania was minimal, with one act being his support of Vilnius being declared as a development city in an attempt to curb German dominance of his kingdom. A few vices of the late king was his unwavering views and tradition and royal protocols. This was famously proven when Magdis refused to accept his son's engagement to a woman beneath his status, resulting in Wilhelm abdicating the throne, and Karl Gero being trusted as the heir apparent to the kingdom, which he knew little of. Unlike his brother, Karl had no wish to guide the nation, but wished to design buildings, having finished his studies as an architect. Having been wounded heavily in the Wilde Creek and now revigorated to show his subjects, the king set out to design a memorial to his late father in the city of Wilkres, selected as he seemed to always enjoy its humble streets and its charming people. Okay, Palace of Grand Dukes, we have 40% legitimacy. Let's go with the king's model town. And now the defending government has actually declared war on the Qing. I was going to say putting the Qing on a two-front war, but not really. I mean, Yunnan Clique and these other guys are basically trash. You've actually also joined up with the Qing. So, I mean, the Zile Clique is looking pretty good. Looking pretty good, let me just say that. Okay, but how are you guys doing here? Unfortunately, not doing well enough to kill Chicago. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Buffalo are still firmly in the CSA's hold. Maybe if the Canadians were to intervene, I feel like they'd probably be the death of the CSA, but I don't know if they're actually going to or not. Okay, we're hoping for that 50% successful raid. A consideration. A memorial design and construction is currently proceeded without any hitch. Locals seem to marvel at the spectacle that was to come to their city, with people from all over the kingdom moving to the city to work on the project, and others to attempt to benefit from the attention that was getting. The sudden influx of people is beginning to strain the city's infrastructure due to a lack of sanitation and electrical infrastructure. This, could hamper the construction. I gotta read that whole sentence over again. Okay. Though the sudden influx of people is beginning to strain the city's infrastructure due to its lack of sanitation and electrical infrastructure, could hamper the completion time of the memorial. In an audience with the mayor of Vlavikas, he has requested the king further funding to accommodate the sudden boom in population, though the benefits of this funding could result in the expansion of the Vilkas and steady growth of jobs. It would have the king going on for several heads of government, which goes against the supposed natural order of things, and could cause a stir with the LKDP and the current head of state. Suppose the king's requesting such funding be made available, which is a drawn-out process. LKDP. I will support my people in their time of need. Okay, more no contact. We get 20 political power. All that does is basically take us out of the negatives. Yeah, and Iberia joined the International. I don't think anybody really is too surprised by that. And you definitely shouldn't be. Oh, look, our tank division's done. Let's bring our tank division to the front line. Morocco, for some reason, is moving troops around. Why? What's Morocco doing that, is so interesting? I don't really know. Okay, the groundwork laid. With the extra funding secured with the city of Viglas via the king directly, the mayor has begun to commence with much needed expansion of the core infrastructure. This has drawn more people to the city from the countryside due to the growing need of unskilled labor being required in the city. A large crowd of people flocked to the unveiling ceremony of the king's memorial to his late father. In a sign of respect to the city, the plaque commissioned to the memorial was written in Belarusian, along with German and Lithuanian, to allow a majority of the local population to understand its meaning. During the ceremony itself, the rural population believed the memorial and the ceremony to be a commemoration of a saint, and began to kneel in prayer to the amusement of those around them. It wasn't until a local interpreter and several local police informed them that it wasn't for a saint, but for the king's late father. The mayor in his speech stated the memorial was two things: a great deed done by the old king, and secondly, the rebirth of the city by deeds of the new one. Further to this, he stated the people of Valvikias shouldn't look to Minsk as their central capital, but to Vilnius as Litvins, not Belarusins. This comment was met with several murmurs in the crowd, till the laborers of the city began cheering in unison, crying out the concern by the mayor as Litvin remarks. After the ceremony, it appears that the memorial was given a tongue-in-cheek nickname due to the actions taken by rural population, with it known as Svenli William, St. Wilhelm, With the king also finding a mirth in the comments. Okay, 5% legitimacy. I will take it. You'll be done in 2 days. You'll be done in 2 days as well. You're now at 6%. Okay, now they're all quiet. Means you have to 7%.